Hi everyone, and welcome back to the MS Workouts channel. Let's begin this video with a quick test. Seated from a chair, try to bring your knee, towards your chest. If you are unable to perform this activity, then whether you realize it or not, you're having weakness or improficiencies in your hip flexors, And if that's the case, then you are in the right place today. Because in this week's video, I'm going to show you several steady pace strength training exercises that will safely and effectively help you have stronger and more functional hip flexors. We have helped thousands of individuals improve their mobility with these strength training exercises. And if you stay consistent with them, you will also see amazing results just like they have. All you're going to need for today's workout is a chair, a space that is safe to exercise, and a progress journal. If you don't have a progress journal, then you can download one for free, in the description box below this video right now. If you have a resistance band, then please bring it with you. If you have any other type of resistance or weight, bring it with you. If you don't, that's perfectly okay as well too, Just follow along with me as I exercise and as I demonstrate. Just give your best effort. We release new videos every single Tuesday on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and turn on the notifications so that you can be notified when the latest video drops. And please, leave us a like after the video if you enjoyed it. Are you ready to improve those hip flexors so that you can lift those legs higher and have a stronger functional hip flexor? Let's do this. Welcome back to our weekly exercise class. If you're sitting here with me right now, more than likely you executed that assessment and you see that hip flexors are a concern of yours. Well, I guarantee you if you execute these exercises on a regular basis, you're going to see an improvement in your functional health of this hip flexor. It's adding this specificity and this intensity, recovering from it, and being consistent with your application that will lead to the best results. Let's go ahead and rock. All right, first exercise we're gonna execute is actually a lower risk, lower executed exercise. So no matter what your functioning ability is, this should be right up your alley to start things off. So let's go ahead and lie on the ground, we're going to execute a dynamic technique set, And it's just gonna be a hip flexor set, where we are going to move through a full range of motion with hip flexion and then hip extension as you ease out. Now, lying on your side in this nature allows you to reduce the resistance of the leg into the hip flexor and allows you to truly get a good assessment no matter what your functioning ability is. If you are not able to currently with the strength of your hip flexor execute this with the top leg, you can always execute this with the bottom leg as well with the support of the ground. It reduces the resistance even more. I think the most important thing here is that you put your ego aside, meet your body where it's at so that you can establish a baseline of what your strength currently is and then move on from there to progressively overload it. Let's rock and roll. Fall into the starting position, stabilize and hold, and initiate movement. Clock is on. As you extend the hip, you're actually engaging the glute, but the hip flexor is going to come into play here as we transition out of the what I call bottom turnaround and we start to bring that knee up. Now simply give your best effort. Hip flexor being engaged. As you come to the top turnaround, we're gonna pause and head back out. Now, muscle failure is the goal on all of our exercise sets. Why? Because that's going to ensure a high enough, clear enough stimulus to create a progressive overload, which then leads to the best results, So as you come back to the top, understand and realize that some point during this exercise, you should get to the point where you can no longer continue to bring that knee all the way back to the starting position or keep it constantly engaged. What you shouldn't be doing is relaxing and engaging. That's not going to give you the best results. We want to stay actively engaged the entire time. And the first time that you have to disengage, whether it's because you just have to relax the muscle or you can no longer continue without momentum, you notate the time on the clock that's above me here, That's gonna allow you to have a very measurable process, And then once you notate that time, just jump back in, continue to give your best effort for the remainder of the exercise. Now, we just passed that 60-second mark. We're in what we call the exhaust range. It's the final 30 seconds of the exercise. And really, if you have the difficulty of this exercise dialed in, the sweet spot right dialed in to get the best results across the board, physiologically, then you should be reaching muscle failure in this last 30 seconds. All right, we're on the last effort, so final opportunity no matter what to reach muscle failure. As you come to the top, notice I'm shaking, rattling, rolling, all the way to the top and slowly disengage. Okay, so Completed. I actually completed the exercise. I did not reach momentary muscle failure. Now, some of you may be going, all right, you did it, right? Or I did it if you completed it yourself. But no, 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 okay? That's not what we want. We want to have this be an exercise, okay? And by definition, the intensity needs to be high enough to truly prompt a change. If it's just movement, if it's just activity, you're not going to be executing an intensity that's gonna give you real change. So I'm going to write plus, circle it, and add resistance next time. If you have a question about how to add difficulty to that lying hip flexion dynamic set, just shoot us a comment in the box below, and then we can go into explaining how you would do that, okay? All right, now we're gonna jump into an isometric or a metabolic set. We just worked on the concentric portion muscle contraction. Now we're gonna jump into an isometric portion, okay? Notice I'm giving a little bit of rest time here in between to allow your body to reset, recoup, before we then jump into an isometric portion. Now we are executing these in the weakest muscle contraction, then strongest, okay? So we can cut rest times down just a little bit in between sets and still see a greater response from the body. Let's do this. All right, as I mentioned, we're gonna go into an isometric or a metabolic technique set, okay? We call them metabolic just because it's, when you're executing an isometric or a static hold, it is very metabolically taxing, okay? Especially when you're challenging yourself at a high level, which you should be. So we're gonna put feet up on top of the chair, okay? And as I mentioned, an isometric or metabolic technique set, we're just simply actively engaging the tissue, and we are going to hold in that position, okay? Once we engage, and we are locked in and we begin the exercise, as soon as you have to disengage, that's the successful, and you're gonna notate the time on the clock, okay? And then just keep giving your best effort knowing that you did it. All right, so what we're going to do now that you got your feet up is we're just going to literally lift the feet up off, okay? Bring knees above hips, and we'll put clock on, okay? If you need to increase the difficulty, you can slide chair out a little bit and do so, okay? Clock is rolling. Now, feet are in the air, gonna immediately feel not only hip flexors, but a little bit of quadriceps as well in lifting your legs up. If you have to, you can always, if you have weaker quadriceps, you can drop your heels down, okay? Extend knees out just a bit, and hip flexors will be actively engaged, okay? When you can no longer stay in this position, your feet have to drop to the ground, okay? That's the hip flexors letting you know you're done. If you start to feel tension into your low back, okay? Because you're not able to keep the pelvis in a neutral position because of the weakness in the hip flexors, okay? You start to feel an arch in that low back, all right? Do not cause any irritation to your low back. Call the set, notate the time, and count that as muscle failure, success, right? Now, you should feel your hip flexors actively engaging tremendously during this exercise. If you were able to complete this full 90 seconds and you need to increase the difficulty, the first step is going to simply be adding pressure to the top part of your thigh or femur in a horizontal manner. We want resistance that direction, okay? So you could add a resistance band looped around. You could also extend your legs out a little bit further because it creates more weight at the end of that lever, okay? No more than about 10 seconds here isometrically. If you are still rocking with me, you more than likely have some pretty proficient hip flexors and you're not realizing how strong they are, okay? 2 more seconds, 1 more second, and relax. Completed once again. Okay, so I completed the exercise, so I need to increase the difficulty of the set. Now I want to address something real quick, okay? I'm gonna put plus, add resistance. I wanna address something, okay? I understand that I have a stronger than normal functioning body of most individuals, okay? But I want to state here, it does not matter the functioning capacity of your body. The fundamental principles are the same, okay? Principles are few, methods are many, right? And the idea here is to allow you to meet your body where it's at, no matter how strong or how weak you are. We work with thousands of individuals who have seen amazing results by simply applying these principles. So don't get discouraged if you're seeing muscle failure very quickly on these, and I'm not, okay? This is not about me. Actually, if you're seeing muscle failure very quickly, that means you're doing it. The intensity, the difficulty is enough. Really, it becomes more difficult when you're actually completing the entirety of the exercise and you have to continue to find ways to progressively challenge the body. With that being said, let's go ahead and execute one more, which is an eccentric accentuated exercise. We're gonna go ahead and take a seat in a chair and we're gonna overload that lengthening portion of the exercise. Let's do it. Okay, as I mentioned, we're gonna execute an eccentric set, okay? Now, I have a dumbbell here that I'm going to be using to overload my hip flexor because as I said earlier, exercise should be personalized to you, right? Not only do you need to have specificity, meaning if we want to prompt change in our hip flexors, we need to be working our hip flexors, but we need to be personalizing this to your current strength. So I'm using 25 pounds here because I want to reach muscle failure. Now, we're gonna execute an eccentric set, meaning we're going to lift into the fully contracted position concentrically. We're going to let the hip flexor hold in that fully contracted position, and then we're gonna lower it as slow as we can, ideally 10 seconds or slower, okay? If and when, right, hopefully when, you are no longer able to lower it at 10 seconds or slower during these 6 efforts, which will last 90 seconds, that's success. You notate the time, okay, on the clock, and more specifically on this one, what effort you are on during this exercise set, because that's what you're gonna write down at the end, knowing that you successfully reached muscle failure then. If you're able to complete all 6 during this 130 at 10 seconds or slower with proper form, then you know that you need to increase the difficulty next time. If, one last thing, you currently cannot lower your leg because of weakness in your hip flexor, which is more than likely the case because that's why you're here, okay? Then please feel free to use an exercise band or a towel or a t-shirt to lift into the air, start to, upon engagement, give the weight of your leg back to your hip flexor, just enough to allow your leg to stabilize, and then you're going to slowly lower, giving the weight, okay, only as much as the hip flexor can handle to lower it as slow as you can to the ground, okay? When you start to lose the proficiency of lowering it as slow as you were at the beginning, notate that effort, right? Now that we've covered the gambit, doesn't matter what your functioning ability is, let's go ahead and do this, knowing that all you have to do is give your very best effort and challenge yourself, and you will see the results. All right, we're gonna follow me to the starting position. Clock is on. So we're holding for 2 seconds here, 1 second. Now lowering for 10 seconds or slower. That's the ideal tempo. Now the resistance is at the very end of my femur straight down, so that relax the bottom for 2, 1, reset, lift up, hold for 2 seconds. 1 second, slowly lowering. The resistance is at the end of my femur so that I'm loading my hip flexor. Notice I'm relaxing my lower limb so my quadricep is not engaged here. Relax for 2, 1. I'm gonna lift myself to the starting position. I want assistance, hold for 2, 1, slowly lowering. Again, muscle failure is the goal. Simply the point you can no longer lower at 10 seconds or slower. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to find it. For 2, 1, and relax for 2 seconds. 1 second, just cross that 45-second mark, holding for 2, 1. It is important during exercise to remind yourself of the benefits, why you are doing this. You want better function, right? You want to be able to lift this leg, go upstairs, bring that leg through on your gait, go shopping, right? Relax for 2, play with the grandkids, 1, all the way up. That's why we exercise, right? We talked about this today as a team, okay, at Practical Fitness and MS Workouts, slowly lowering. But exercise is not about the process, right? Going to see a concert's about the process, right? Exercise is about the outcome, the benefits. Relax for 2 because it is not fun, right? Hold here. Recreation is fun. 1 more second, slowly low. Exercise by definition is not unless you like discomfort. For 3, 2, and 1. We're passing the 130 mark. Let's go 1 effort here. Stabilize and hold for 2. Final opportunity. 1, now just as slow as you can. Breathing freely. 6th effort. Calm in that mind, and done. I slowly started to lose the ability on that last one there. Whew, so success this time, okay? As I just mentioned, success, right? I did not complete it. I did reach muscle failure. I started to lose the ability to lower at 10 seconds or slower. Whew, I need to stand and stretch that booger. At the end there on the 6th effort. So I'm gonna write okay, I'm gonna write 6, and I'm gonna circle it, knowing that I did successfully reach muscle failure, okay, at the 6th effort. So next time I can use the same resistance and ideally try to complete the entirety of that exercise. And as long as I've had adequate protein, I've given myself adequate time to recover, and my recoverability is dialed in, then I will see that improvement up to a certain genetic potential, okay? With that being said, execute these exercises 1 to 3 times per week, okay? Understanding that, again, as I mentioned, this is not movement, it's exercise. So the intensity needs to be high, the frequency needs to be lower. That's why it's 1 to 3 times. And you need to give yourself a full 24 to 48 hours between these sessions. And what you do between those sessions is active rest. If you don't know what active rest is, go to www.msworkouts.com, okay, so we can fill you in on the importance of active rest, okay? With that, if you liked this video, please go ahead and give us a thumbs up, hit the notifications button. I want you to have strong hip flexors, so utilize these exercises. And if there's a particular area that you all want to focus on in these upcoming videos, let us know, because that's what we're here for. You know, our content is driven by you. That's why we put this hip flexor in, because a lot of the individuals that are watching, just like you, might have been you that left a comment. You know, thank you for doing so. That's why we put this together and we exist. It's because of you. Everyone have an excellent week, and I look forward to seeing you next week at our next exercise video. Take care. Our YouTube channel is a great place to start gaining strength, but if you want to get serious about reducing your symptoms and getting results, then you need to be on a weekly structured strength training program with other individuals just like you. And that's exactly what we offer at MS Workouts through our membership. Click the link in the video or below the video to learn how our membership can help you achieve your goals. And while you're on the website, make sure you sign up for the no-cost 7-day strength camp so you can experience how we can help you do the things that you love to do with more confidence. See you all next week.